All right, let's get the stream pulled up on my end, get those comments going. Let's see. Refresh. Refresh. There we go. All right, we are officially live. What is up, everybody? Wonderbro here with Vacay Fear. Today we're going to be talking about mind attacks, good old mind attacks. When the mind attacks, simply notice, right? We've been throwing around the word mind attack over on the Discord for the past few days, and I kind of just wanted to explain that. Okay, what I mean when I say the word mind attack, what Moji means when he says the word mind attack, what is a mind attack, what do you do when it comes to a mind attack. What's the deal? Right, we're gonna explain that today. We're gonna talk about that today. What's up, FIFA? Welcome to the stream, dude. How you doing? Hi, hello, everyone. Let's send one more notification to the Discord. Right there we go. Okay. How is everyone doing today? Early morning stream. Not that early. It's about 10 a.m. my time. So we're back on track with our stream times here. How is everybody doing? Mind attacks, mind attacks, mind attacks. It's been a word that we have been using more frequently here lately, and I kind of just want to talk about that. I kind of just want to dive into that a little bit. Victoria, good morning. Good morning, Victoria. How you doing? I thought it was later than it was, honestly. Hey, bro. Hello. Welcome to the stream. How are you doing? Welcome, welcome. Mind attacks. We're going to give it a few minutes, let some people who want to catch us live get in here. And as always, we are going to drop that Discord link if you want to join us over on the Discord. Good place to chat, hang out, meet people. But you know, if you're late to the streams, if you're missing the streams, you're not getting notified, you don't have to join us in the chat over there. You can just join simply for the notifications for the live streams. That should post up in just a second. Good morning, good topic. Good morning, welcome. Where is that Discord link? It should drop any second now. It should. When the mind attacks. This is going to be a good one. Of course, this goes and will go hand in hand with everything that we say about negative thoughts and not getting involved and your attention being the fuel to the fire. When you give too much attention to the mind, right, instead of living life, instead of accepting and living life. So this will go hand in hand with everything that we talk about as far as thoughts are concerned here on the channel. Good morning, made it on time, Wonder Bro. What's up, Sanchez? Welcome, dude. Welcome, welcome. You were on time today. You were on it. Yeah, so this, everything that we talk about here on the streams, whether we're talking about thoughts or feelings, anxiety, panic, it doesn't really matter. It all comes full circle at the end of the day, right? Don't get overwhelmed in thinking, oh, well, you need to watch every single one of my live streams in order to hear something new each time. I like to put it new ways each time. I like to put it new ways, but the advice will always fundamentally be the same, right? So don't get overwhelmed. All right, guys, we're going to get started in just a second. We've got a handful of people in here. We should be good to go. All right, let's get going. So, the title of this stream is When the Mind Attacks, Simply Notice. So, for starters, what are we referring to when we say mind attack? What do we mean by mind attack? What the hell is that? Okay, well, just like you experience feelings in the body of anxiety, and we call that sometimes a panic attack, having a panic attack, right? When the mind sends all of these negative, intrusive thoughts your way, those sticky, annoying, frustrating, fearful, negative, intrusive thoughts your way, and you're having, you're going on about your day, and you feel really overwhelmed by the amount of negative thoughts that are being produced, by the amount and the severity of the negative thoughts that are floating up in your head, right? We call those mind attacks. It simply means that you are feeling overwhelmed by the mind, that you're having a ton of negative thoughts, a ton of negative intrusive thoughts. We call that a mind attack. Now, normally, Okay, and this is how you end up in the sensitized boat. This is how you slowly sensitize yourself. Normally, what people do about their quote unquote mind attacks is they jump in and try to solve them, right? It seems like the right thing to do. It feels right. It feels right in that moment that if you want relief from the mind and these mind attacks, that the right thing to do is to jump in with it and try to solve these thoughts, to try to solve these mind attacks. And you have convinced yourself that this is how you're going to feel relief. So this is what people do. They try to use their mind to fight their mind. This is like fighting fire with fire. All you are doing is energizing these mind attacks, right? And people don't know that. They don't realize that, and you can't hold it against them. I didn't realize that a long time ago. That's how I ended up sensitized. And it's day after day you're fighting these mind attacks, and ironically, the more you fight them to get relief from them, the more they grow, the more powerful they grow, right? Before you know it, every single day is constant mind attacks, and then you end up sensitized, right? And what happens is people end up sensitized and then they fight even harder. This is the cycle. This is the unfortunate cycle that a lot of people find themselves in. They end up sensitized from trying to fight the mind with the mind. And, because when you fight, you make the thoughts stronger, you make them stickier, you signal to the brain that there's a problem, the list goes on. And then they become sensitized. And now that they're sensitized, they're really stepping up the fight because they're like, holy crap, I feel so bad. I really got to solve this thing. So now they're really fighting the mind. And this is the unfortunate cycle. So I know it feels natural. I know it feels right because as human beings, if there's a problem going on, whether it's in our head or in front of us, we feel the urge to take care of it. That's what we do. It feels natural. So I know it feels natural, but you have to understand one thing, one very crucial thing. The more attention, okay, and attention takes many forms, whether it be judgment, fighting, agreeing, disagreeing, whatever it is that you do with your mind and your thoughts, the more attention you add to these mind attacks, right, the stronger they become. You're not going to solve anything. You're not going to figure anything out. You know, and some people might say, well, I believe I can get to the bottom of these thoughts. Okay, well, we'll give that a try, and you'll see that even if you do, quote unquote, get to the bottom of these thoughts, right, the mind just finds something else. The mind just finds something else. So it's a never ending cycle. The more attention that you give to these mind attacks, the stronger they become. The stronger they become. Victoria, refresh your stream. The stronger they become. So I know it feels natural. I know it feels like the right thing to do. But if you want the mind to lose its power over you, right? If you want these thoughts to start to lose their fuel, you really have to take a step back each and every time and remind yourself that your attention, okay, in whatever form that takes, is the power. Your attention is your power. So the more you pay attention to these thoughts by getting involved with them, the stronger they become. And that's the really ironic part of the cycle that people don't realize, that a lot of people don't realize. They are convinced that they can use their mind to fight their mind. And like I said earlier, that's like fighting fire with fire. It's not going to end well for you. As I'm sure you already know, if you're here watching this stream now, that is not going to end well for you. It's not. Anytime you power these thoughts, they become stronger. Anytime you power these thoughts with your intention, aka your involvement, whatever you want to call it, they become stronger. Your attention is your fuel, is your power, right? And so some people say, and we talked about this yesterday, some people say, well, I remove attention the best I can from these thoughts and I accept them for what they are. Because again, we're not trying to push them out or deny them. I remove my attention and I try to put it back in reality the best that I can. And I try to remove the fuel from these thoughts, but yet they're still there. And that's okay. That doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. Unless you're getting involved, unless you're giving too much attention to these thoughts, that doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It takes time for a fire to burn out. And we talked about this yesterday, and it's so crucial that you understand this. It takes time for a fire to burn out. If you're having a campfire and you're like, okay, well, I want this fire to go out, so I'm going to stop adding logs. I'm going to stop adding wood to this fire because it's time to go home, right? Is that fire immediately going to burn itself out? No. No, it doesn't. Okay, it does not immediately burn out. If you remove the fuel source from a fire, if you remove the fuel source from a fire, that fire does not immediately burn out. And we talked about this, like I said yesterday. So important that you understand that because I see it happen all the time. People are like, well, I'm doing what you say. I'm not getting involved with my thoughts. I'm letting them be there, but it's such a pain in the ass because they're not going away. And at first, they're not going to. Just because you remove the wood from a fire, you stop putting logs on the fire, does not mean that fire is going to burn out right away. It takes time for that fire to burn out. Okay, but the important thing is, the important aspect here is you have stopped adding the logs. You have stopped adding the wood, which is your attention. Your attention is your power, right? So when you remove that fuel source, it takes time for that fire to burn out, and that's fine. Don't get involved. Let that fire burn out. Let it take as much time as it needs. Chances are you've been fueling this for a long time, right? But the important part is that you have removed the fuel source. Okay, so you have to let these thoughts come, and I'll give you a very, simple example. Let's say you have a thought, and keep in mind, just because I'm giving you an example doesn't mean don't sit there and think, oh, well, this doesn't apply to my case. If it's a negative thought, it applies to your case. Stop making excuses. So your negative thought could be about something happening in the future. Your negative thought could be a what if. Your negative thought could be about anything. As long as it's negative and causing the anxiety response, this applies. So you're sitting there, you have this negative thought rise up in your head. All you need to do in that moment is take a step back, accept that it came, because there's nothing we can do about it coming, right? Accept that it came. Notice it. All right, there it is. And remind yourself, I'm not going to get involved. Try to put the attention elsewhere. Let it be there. It can be there. It can be floating around in your head. It can be causing anxiety, but your attention is not fully here anymore. So with the best of your ability, you try to put more attention in the outside world into just getting on with your life. One of our two main keys, just getting on with your life. See how they go hand in hand, not following negative intrusive thoughts and getting on with your life. So the negative thought is there. You've noticed it. You've accepted its arrival, but you're simply reminding yourself you're not going to get involved, and then the attention goes elsewhere to the best of your ability. I'm not saying you have to put 100% of your attention elsewhere, because I know that's kind of hard to do at first. But let's try to put as much of your attention as we can back into the real world, getting on with your life. Do you see how the two main keys go hand in hand now? Do you see why we have two main keys and not one main key, right? So it's a lot easier to allow negative thoughts to be there without entertaining them, without fueling the fire, when you use both of the two main keys. Because one of the two main keys clearly states that getting on with your life and trying to do little things that you used to enjoy and trying to do positive things that you used to enjoy is part of the two main keys. And a big part of the reason why it's part of the two main keys is not just for positive behaviors to teach the brain, but it's also because when you do this, it makes it a lot easier to not entertain those negative thoughts. Right? It makes it a lot easier. Now, I'm not saying you have to jam pack your day full of things to do in order to use the two main keys. That is not true. You do not have to jam pack your day full of things to do in order to not entertain your thoughts. I'm just saying it is a helpful way to continue to retrain the brain, right? So again, negative thought comes, mind attacks come. You have to take that crucial step back in that moment and remind yourself you're not getting involved. Put the attention elsewhere. As we said yesterday, look elsewhere. And that simply meant to put the attention elsewhere. Go back to your business, right? So what the mind is up to and what the mind is doing is no longer your problem. You have made it your problem for so long, and look how far that has gotten you. You are trying to fight fire with fire. You are trying to fight the mind with the mind, and it's just not going to happen. Your thoughts grow in power and in energy the more you try to do this. And this is why people end up in the sensitized boat. They continue to try to fight the mind with the mind, and before you know it, they're completely sensitized. Then they become sensitized, they get even more worked up, and they try to fight the mind with the mind even harder, right? They try to fight the mind with the mind even harder. So here's the main point of today's stream. When the mind attacks, simply notice. Don't get involved with your attention. And like we say, attention can take many different forms, right? Put the attention as best as you can back into the real world, back into your own business, right? While you allow that fire to burn up. The fire may not burn up right away just because you've removed the wood. It'll take time for that fire to burn up, right? So when the mind attacks, simply notice. When the mind attacks, simply notice. Now, a lot of people are convinced that unless they get involved, they won't experience relief. But you see from your own experience how far getting involved has gotten you. It's not gotten you very far, has it? It's time to try a new approach. It's time to try this approach, right? If you want the mind to lose its power over you, to slowly start to lose its energy, you have to accept it for what it is without getting involved, because your involvement, your intention, right, is the fuel to the fire. That is how these thoughts gain energy. I'm not saying it's not going to be uncomfortable, right, to leave these thoughts alone. It might be uncomfortable. They might cause feelings in the body. But if your attention is not fully there anymore, trying to fight fire with fire, they will eventually lose their power. And this is what you've got to start practicing. This is what you absolutely have to start practicing, because as of right now, every single day you are in this battle. Every single day you are fighting fire with fire. Every single day you are trying to use the mind to beat the mind. And this does not make any logical sense, right? And this is the realization that you have to come to. The more you try to fight the mind with the mind, the stronger it becomes. And I know it's tempting to get involved because that seems like the right thing to do, but you have to ask yourself, how far has that gotten you, right? How far has that gotten you? And that was the point of today's stream. Right on time, Scotty. Thank you so much for the $5 tip, bro. I really appreciate it. It's almost like you guys know when I'm starting to wind down the main point of the stream. Thank you so much for the $5 tip, Scotty. Shout out to Scotty in the chat, please. Thank you, man. I truly appreciate it. When the mind attacks, simply notice there's going to be an urge, there's going to be a temptation to get involved. Let's, to the best of our ability, I'm getting tongue-tied, put our attention back out into the real world, right? Put the attention back out into the real world. You don't have to fight fire with fire. And it might not feel like the right thing to do at first, but that's simply because you're not used to it. That's simply because you're not used to it. Your whole life you're used to doing the opposite. Your whole life you're used to fighting with fire with fire. Your whole life you're used to trying to use the mind to defeat the mind, and the mind has grown stronger and stronger. I can't speak today for some reason. The mind has grown stronger and stronger. And you see where it ended you up. It ended you up in the sensitized boat because your body simply cannot take it anymore. It cannot take this fight anymore, right? So in order to recover, you have to allow these mind attacks to happen while you remove your attention to the best of your ability. And this gets easier the more you practice. It does get easier the more you practice because the body starts to heal, right? And that makes it so much easier. But you have to, the best of your ability, allow the mind attack to be while your attention is somewhere else. Stop giving so much attention to the mind attacks, right? You're making them stronger with your involvement, because what is involvement? Your involvement is your intention. Your attention is your involvement, right? It comes full circle. It comes full circle. So thank you so much, Scotty, for the $5 tip, man. I truly appreciate it. I hope you guys run with this. I always say that if you're going to watch my streams and if you're going to use my advice and take my opinion on things, you need to take it full steam ahead. You need to pick it up and you need to run with it and you need to get going, right? I never said it would be easy. I try to make it as simple as possible, but I never once said it would be easy. But it's doable. It's doable for anybody. Anybody can learn a new skill. Skills are not necessarily easy to learn, but anybody can learn them with enough time, right? Until it becomes second nature. So do not doubt yourself, chat. Do not doubt yourself. If you are up in your mind right now, as you watch this, if you are up in your mind fueling these thoughts, let's bring the attention to my words. Let's bring the attention to my stream, okay? And let's keep the attention elsewhere. Let's stop giving so much attention to the nagging mind, because the more attention you give it, the more it nags, right? Because the stronger it becomes. So you need to accept what's going on up here, but you don't need to be up here anymore, right? To the best of your ability. The thoughts can still be there, but your involvement needs to be removed, right? Because your involvement is the power. And the more you practice this, the more you'll come to the realization, the crucial realization, that the words that I'm speaking right now are true, right? But I can't prove that to you. You have to prove that to yourself. I can't prove that to you, and that's another point that I wanted to briefly talk about today. I can tell you all day long in my streams that if you don't get involved and if you try to remove attention from the mind attacks and just accept them, because intention is a fight. Intention is involvement. If you've got attention up here, that's because you're trying to do something about what's going on up here. So true acceptance is to remove the attention, to allow what's happening, right? To remove the involvement. That is true acceptance. Now, what I was going to say is that I can tell you all day long that if you do this, eventually these mind attacks will lose their power and you'll become a person you never thought you were. You'll start to realize these thoughts are meaningless to you. They'll start to lose their charge. I can tell you that all day, every day on stream, and I do for the most part, right? But you have to prove that to yourself. You will never be fully convinced about what I'm saying. Nobody in chat who has not experienced it for themselves will never be fully convinced of what I'm saying unless you experience that for yourself. So if you're a non-believer, if you've got all of these false ideas in your head, right? If you're being really, really charged by this negative energy in the mind, then you have to prove what I'm saying to yourself in order to gain that confidence, in order to say, wow, you know what? There's a point here. So if you're a non-believer, you have to ask yourself, what do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? I can reassure you and tell you that it works all day long, but you really have to prove it to yourself. And if you don't feel like proving it to yourself, then you need to get up and you need to look in the mirror and you need to ask yourself, what do I have to lose at this point? How long have you been fighting this thing? How long have you been miserable, right? You really need to ask yourself, what do you have to lose? So that was something I wanted to talk very briefly about today. I can try to persuade you guys of the truth, but you're not going to see the truth until you experience it for yourself, all right? So get going, get started. What is up, Peter? Let's get into some comments now. Let's get into some comments. What is up, Peter? What is up, Arnold? I did see what you wrote on the Facebook page, Arnold, but I couldn't reply. I don't know why. It said I couldn't reply. But you were asking me something about how shouldn't we, we talk about behaviors here on the channel. We talk about how it's important to have positive behaviors in the face of anxiety, and I think you had a bit of confusion because your message on the Facebook page was something along the lines of shouldn't we embrace our feelings and not try to force positive behaviors? Absolutely, you should embrace your feelings such as sadness or anger or whatever feeling you have. Absolutely, you should embrace your feelings. But the point is, anxiety is not needed. The anxiety response, the false alarm, is not needed. So if you're experiencing anxiety and the false alarm, okay, when you're perfectly safe and there's no real danger, we need to prove that to the brain that this alarm is false. And that's why we say positive accepting behaviors. Now, we're not talking about trying to deny yourself of the sadness you feel, trying to deny yourself of this emotion. We're not denying any sort of emotion. We always accept the way we feel. We always accept the way we feel. However, if there is a false alarm of anxiety, well, that's not needed. Okay? That's not needed. It's not needed. It's not needed. So we prove that to the brain with positive accepting behaviors. Show the brain that there's no real tiger in the room with you, because if you bow down to this anxiety and act all defeated and scared, of course the brain is going to assume that there's a real danger. The brain doesn't know any better, right? So it's not about denying your feelings. You should always accept your feelings. But when it comes to anxiety and the false alarm of anxiety, we need to prove to the brain with positive accepting behaviors, one of our two main keys, that there is no tiger in the room with you. Because if you act scared and defeated in the face of anxiety, the brain is going to assume that that false alarm was not false and that it was very much needed, right? And that's why the two main keys are there, and that's why we talk about positive behaviors. So in conclusion to your question, always accept your feelings. This is not about denying your feelings. This is simply about retraining the brain, right? This is simply about retraining the brain. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel whatever it is you feel. But when anxiety is there and you know that anxiety is not needed, you need to prove that to the brain, right? So I hope that answers your question. It's not the thought or feelings, it's simply your reaction to them. Yeah, that's the problem. Getting involved, right? God, why is my face so itchy? My nose so itchy all of a sudden. Allergies, man. I used to listen to you every night because I couldn't let go of my fears and anxiety. I don't need your videos anymore, but I still support them because they help me. I hope my donation will. Thank you so much, dude. I hope my donations help you keep making these videos because actually people need these videos. They help. Thanks, man. Hey, I appreciate that, Scotty. Thank you so much for the support. Even though you've recovered, thank you so much for still being here and supporting the channel, dude. I really appreciate it. All right, guys, I'm going to grab a quick smoke, but don't worry, I can still see the comments, so if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Victoria, yes. Yeah, so I hope that makes it a bit more clear to you, Arnold. It's never about denying your feelings. We should always accept our feelings. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel whatever it is you feel. Don't make it into a problem. We say that all the time, right? So it's not about denying your feelings, but if we're talking about anxiety, which is what we usually are referring to here, if we're talking about the false alarm of anxiety, well, you need to prove to your brain with positive accepting behaviors that that false alarm is not needed. The brain is making its conclusions based off of how you're acting in the face of anxiety, right? And that's why one of our two main keys is positive accepting behaviors. So it's not about denying feelings, it's about proving to your brain that the false alarm of anxiety isn't needed, right? That's what it's about, guys. Thanks for the question, Arnold. All right. Alright, let's get a smoke here and then we'll be back at our setup. Beautiful day today, guys. I often feel like I'm not totally awake as that derealization. You could just be fatigued, tired. If you feel like you've got a bit of brain fog, people commonly call that brain fog. Honestly, dude, I'm going to be completely honest with you. Do not waste your time trying to get into whether this is derealization, depersonalization, brain fog, fatigue. Don't get involved in that mind game because that rabbit hole is deep. That rabbit hole is deep. I understand your curiosity. I get it. I completely understand that. But that rabbit hole, anybody in chat can tell you that rabbit hole is deep, trying to figure out am I experiencing exactly this or this? If it's anxiety, you've been to a doctor, you've been cleared by a doctor, you know you're dealing with anxiety, leave it at that. Leave it at that. That is my recommendation to you, to just leave it at that. Don't play that mind game. Don't play that mind game. Let's take the attention back out into the real world. Let's not get involved with these mind games because this is obviously what's keeping you sick. Okay, and when I say the word sick, I mean sensitized, right? These mind games, they're sneaky. And the moment you get involved with your attention, and like we keep saying, because it's important you understand this, your attention is given in multiple different ways, whether it's judging, labeling, fighting, agreeing, disagreeing, so forth and so on. Once you get involved with those mind games with your attention, that rabbit hole goes deep. It goes deep. You can be stuck in that game for quite some time. And the unfortunate part about being stuck in that mind game, that negative mind game, the very unfortunate part about that is the body is registering all of this. The body is registering all of this. And that's why people's nerves break down. That's why people eventually have their nerves break down because the body is registering this mind game fight that you have going on. The body is what registers all of this, right? And you guys know that. And that's why people end up sensitized playing this game for so long that eventually the body just can't do it anymore, right? And the nerves just can't take it anymore, right? So healing is about doing the opposite. It's about doing the opposite. So what's everybody up to today, chat? Talk to me, chat. What's your plans for today? Anything new, anything exciting going on in your life? You just living the life, simple life? Talk to me, chat. How would you guys feel about a podcast? How would you guys feel about a podcast? I don't even know how you would go about doing a podcast, but I really enjoy I don't know, the thought of doing one. Just blabbing on in a more casual kind of way. It would still be mental health related, I'm sure, but just like a casual podcast. I don't know. How would you guys feel about that? Maybe on some other platform. I'm not sure how that works, but I don't know. I was watching podcasts last night, and it made me kind of think about it. Drink of water. All right, chat. I'm about to be back over at my setup. Just a second. A podcast on Spotify. A podcast would be epic. Can you guys give me ideas on how I would even go about that? Someone said Spotify. Like here's what I was thinking, right? We could do a podcast. Um, it would of course be mental health related, but we could also talk about casual stuff too. Like I think it would be kind of cool just to see what we could get into. All right, guys, I'll be right back. 2 seconds. All right, sorry about that, guys. Had to take care of something real quick. How's everybody in chat doing? Talk to me, chat. What is up? I heard someone say the worst part of anxiety is that it makes you anxious. At the end of the day, it's pretty true. Why losing time with this? What do you think about this? That is true. I would agree with that completely. The worst thing about anxiety is that it makes you anxious. Nothing actually ever happens. And that's how fear operates, especially fear in the body. It's how it operates. Nothing truly bad ever happens, which, I mean, I guess you can consider being in the sensitized state a bad thing. Um, but other than that, other than anxiety making you anxious, yeah, there's really nothing that comes of anxiety. So I would agree with that. It's a bluff at the end of the day, right? Nobody's ever had died from anxiety. Nobody's ever died from anxiety or panic. So why am I getting another call? I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Just give me a second here. All right. Sorry. Sorry. Um, we are experiencing some interruptions today, but we should be good now. His thoughts about recovery negative, which I don't respond to. So obsession about recovery is negative, yes, because if you think about it, to your body, all right, and we just spoke about how your body registers all of your thoughts that you continue to get involved in and that you continue to fuel. To your body, when you sit around and obsess about recovery, this could be deemed as a very negative thing because you're worried about something, right? Worry, 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 worry. What is worry? It is the constant involvement with thoughts of a negative nature. So the more you fuel this, yeah, I would absolutely say that thoughts about recovery can be a negative thing. It can be considered obsession, and you should really drop any sort of involvement with this constant obsession and worry, right? You should really drop this. It's not needed. As long as you're following the two keys here, if that's what you decide to do, then anything else, all of this obsession about when, how, and all this and that, yes, I would consider that negative. It's not needed. It's just a form of worry, a form of obsession. And that's kind of like we were talking about earlier, though. Some thoughts pretend to be so important, and unless you get to the bottom of them, unless you solve them, they're just not going to end. You're just not going to experience relief. And this just isn't true. This just isn't true, but I can't prove that to you. You have to prove that to yourself by getting started with the non-involvement, by getting started with not going there with your thoughts, by not fueling that, right? You have to prove that to yourself, and that's something that I wanted to make clear today. And if I just accept them, I don't do anything. I just accept that I'm a shit person. So acceptance is not about accepting saying, "Oh, I'm a shit person." Acceptance is about realizing the mind that says I'm a shit person is none of your business because there's no truth behind it. There's nothing you need to get involved with there. Now, to a person who takes the thought of I'm a shit person and they run with that and they start to fuel that, then congratulations, you'll start to feel like a shit person, right? So, acceptance is really about realizing that the mind game is none of your damn business. It's none of your business. And the more you get involved in that mind game, the more you're going to feel like crap. And that's really what acceptance is about. It's realizing that there's a mind game going on, and the more you partake in it with your attention, the more you will feel like a shit person. Acceptance is about realizing that you don't have to partake in these mind games. You don't have to partake in these mind games, right? So you're too involved with the mind game. You're too involved with these thoughts that say you are a shit person. You're too involved and identified with all of this. Too involved, too identified. You have to let this fire burn up. You have to let this fire burn up. You really, really do. Your involvement is the fuel to the fire, my friends. Your involvement is the fuel to the fire. If you want these feelings and if you want these thoughts to burn up, you have to stop putting your attention there. You have to stop trying to do something about them. They'll go away on their own. Right now, you are completely convinced that unless you intervene, they won't go away. You're completely convinced that unless you intervene, this is your reality. But how far has intervening got you? I'll tell you where it's gotten you. It's gotten you to my channel. It's gotten you to my channel and it's gotten you sick. So you are fueling the very thoughts and feelings that you don't want to feel. You are fueling the very thoughts and feelings that you don't want to feel that would go away on their own if you stopped fueling them, right? How far has your intervention gotten you? Not far. Not far. You've continued to fuel these feelings until now this has become your reality, right? But we can reverse this. We can reverse this. If you don't like the program that's currently running, then you have to stop getting involved with it. You have to stop getting involved with it. Become aware. Become aware and stay as awareness, right? Do you drink alcohol? Sometimes I don't. The last time I drank alcohol is probably like 10 years ago. And how is your mind on it? I just don't like the way it makes me feel to be drunk. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. All right, guys. I'm going to put this crap up. I had to bring some groceries in. I got some drinks here. Continue to ask your questions. Continue to make your comments. I'm still here. So you see what we're getting at, Arnold? Every time you have these thoughts and these feelings and your mind says, "Oh, well, you're a shit person. You better do something about this." And then you jump in and you try to do something about it, you just energize it. You energize it. What is the best way to transform? If you want to be a different person, if you want to transform your life, the best way to transform is to become aware of the old programming so that when the mind says this or the mind says that, you are the awareness. You no longer follow down that path. You accept that there's an old program that's going on, but you're no longer running it, right? So you're just aware. And then these feelings and these thoughts, they can naturally start to transform. But the more you stick your hand in the pot, the more you're going to get burnt, right? Trust me, there is nothing that you need to do as far as anxiety is concerned. There's nothing that you need to do as far as these negative thoughts are concerned. Because the more you try to do something, the more you are pouring gas on the fire. You are giving these things life. You are giving these things life. The best way for these thoughts and these feelings to leave you alone is to stop giving them life. Stop giving them life. I get where you're coming from because earlier we talked about that. How people are so convinced that unless they get involved there will be no change. But you have to understand the reason you continue to feel the way you do and think the way you think is because you are getting involved. You are so caught up in the program that you don't even know that you are it, right? So the best way to shine light on these thoughts and feelings and get them to leave you alone is to stop powering them, right? Because they're completely energized, and that's why they continue to show up because you keep energizing them with your involvement, right? If you want a thought, which what is a thought at the end of the day? It's energy. It's an electrical impulse, right? If you want a thought to stop bothering you, to stop being on repeat and the feelings that come with it, you accept them and you stop powering them. That is the beauty of acceptance. That's why acceptance is so important because you're no longer fueling the charge. You're no longer dumping your energy into ways that you don't want to feel and thoughts that you don't want to think. The more you try to do something about them, well, congratulations, now they're full force, right? And that's what we want you to realize because I didn't realize that for a long time. And believe me, my involvement got me nowhere but sicker and sicker and sicker. If you want these thoughts to lose their charge, you have to stop giving them that charge. And what is that charge? Chat, that charge is your involvement, right? So if you wanted somebody to stop knocking on your door and shitting on your porch, you would stop opening the door. But as long as you open the door and get involved and serve them tea, they're going to keep coming back, right, for their tea every single day. So if you want thoughts and feelings, especially, thoughts that kind of starts the whole cycle, right? If you want these thoughts to leave you alone, you have got to stop putting that charge in there. You have got to stop energizing them. You have got to stop serving them tea. You have got to stop serving them tea. It's just that so many people are so convinced that if they don't get involved, change won't happen. But you've been getting involved for years, and what has happened? Any change? Has there been any change? No. You've just been getting sicker and sicker and more stressed and stressed. If you want to change an old program, you simply become aware of the program and you stop logging into it. That's the best way for change. That is the best way for change because you have removed the charge. You are no longer energizing these old thoughts. You are no longer energizing these old thoughts and ways of being. And finally, they will start to leave you alone. But as long as you energize them with your attention, they're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. Why would they? Why would they? You give them so much energy day in and day out with your attention. Why would they go anywhere? The more you continue to walk that path, well, it's become well written. It's become well written now. So if you want true change, it's not a matter of getting there and trying to fight with all this. You're just going to get stressed. You're just going to get sick. If you want true change, I'm pointing you to how to get true change. The way that you get true change is by being aware of the old programs and no longer logging into them. And they'll start to die out, right? That's how you get true change. If you want to change who you are as a person, you start to become aware of the old programs that you're currently running on. And then you stop logging into them, right? You accept it for the time being and you understand that that fire will eventually burn out. This will lead to true change. This will lead to true change. But as long as you're trying to get involved and desperately and frantically fight and fight and fight, you're just getting more and more tired. You're just getting more and more stressed and stressed and stressed, right? And that's why we say, the word awareness is so important. It's so important. Just be aware of these things when they're happening and no longer give them your power. Be aware of these things when they're happening and no longer give them their power. It's why we love the word awareness. That is why we love the word awareness. It is such a powerful word. It is such a powerful word. Learning to be alone and not fearful so much I could be doing. Learning to take my thoughts captive and not feed into them. Not feed into them being the most important part of that statement right there. So, what does feed into them mean? Attention comes in many different forms, like we were saying earlier. Judgment, labeling, agreeing, disagreeing. It's trying to do anything about it instead of just realizing that it's not worth your trouble. It's not worth powering these thoughts anymore. It's not worth giving these thoughts a charge anymore. If you want something to leave it alone, you have to stop fueling it. And this is where true change will start to happen. This is where true change will start to happen. I hate to burst your bubble, but the body does not need you to heal. I hate to burst your bubble, but the mind does not need you to become clear. The more you try to heal the body by getting involved and fighting, 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 the sicker it becomes. The more you try to clear the mind by getting involved and trying to fight, 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 the more gucked up it becomes, right? It's just gunk. So the more you try to fight to heal the body, the more stressed you become. The more you try to fight to clear the mind, okay, the more foggy things become. I hate to burst your bubble again, but the body does not need you to heal, and the mind does not need you to become clear. You are the reason the mind is not clear, and your involvement is the reason the body is tired. And I know for some people that is a huge blow to the ego. Well, that's good. Let's get the ego out of here. Let's get the ego out of here. And I'll say it one last time. The body does not need you to heal, and the mind does not need you to become clear. It needs you to stop. That's what the body will heal itself. The body is miraculous. It heals injuries all the time, and it's the same for your nerves. The body needs you to stop in order to heal. The mind needs you to stop in order to become clear. Leave it alone. Let the mind go on its rampage for as long as it's going to last for now, because this is the current state you're in, but it'll eventually become clear if you stop getting involved. And the body will eventually heal if you stop getting involved. So, One last time, I hate to burst your bubble, but the body does not need your help. You are the reason it's getting more and more tired because you keep getting involved. It can do it itself if you'll let it. The mind does not need you to become clear. It'll do it itself if you stop getting involved. Put the attention elsewhere. Put the attention on life. Stop trying to fight your mind, and the mind will stop, right? Eventually. So it's really about non involvement. If you want these old programs and this old way of life to eventually die out, it's all about non involvement. When a thought comes that I will not be like myself again, I don't get involved. I am like, okay, I will do everything I used to do, but again, there is a thought that I have forgotten myself. So, just too much involvement still, right? You don't even need that sentence that says, I'm not going to get involved. I am like, okay, I will do everything I used to do. You can leave it at, I'm not going to get involved. You can put a period on the end of I'm not going to get involved, and you can put the attention elsewhere while the mind does whatever the mind wants to do, right? But you've removed attention. You don't even need the sentence that says I'm like, okay, I will do everything I used to do. You don't even need that part. You don't even need that part. Right? Again, if you want the body and mind to heal, you have to stop involvement. You have to put the attention elsewhere and let the body and mind do what it's doing. Because otherwise you're just fueling it. Otherwise you're just giving it the energy it needs, right, to continue doing this. So don't sit around and say I've forgotten the way I used to live. How do I go back to the way that I used to live? You're too involved in the mind game. You're already sucked in at this point. You're too involved, too involved, too involved, too involved. Let things happen naturally. Your body will heal naturally, your mind will heal naturally if you stop getting involved, if you stop playing the mind game. Let the mind say what it wants to say. Put your attention back out into the real world. Let the body do what the body wants to do. Stop getting involved. You're just making it more and more stressed. You are giving your energy. Okay, and again, your attention is your power. You are giving your energy to these feelings the more you fight them. You are giving your energy to the mind the more you fight it. You need to take a step back and say, these things are going to happen. The mind is going to say what the mind wants to say. The body is going to react how the body wants to react. This is a part of being in the sensitized state, especially, right? But you're no longer going to give your power to these thoughts. You're going to let them burn themselves out. If you want something to leave you alone, you have to stop poking it. You have to stop poking it. It's like we said earlier. It's like trying to fight fire with fire. It's like trying to fight the mind with the mind. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You're just going to get sicker and sicker and sicker, right? If you want anything in life to lose its power, you stop giving it that power, which is your intention, which is your involvement, right? So I know it's tempting to dive into the depths of things. I know it's tempting to get involved. I know it's tempting. You think there's something that you can do, right? But the more you try to do, the more stressed you become. Let the body heal itself. The body can heal itself. Let the mind become clear on its own. The mind will become clear on its own. If you stop poking the bear, right? If you stop poking the bear, if you stop getting involved, if you stop fueling the fire, if you stop giving power to these things, remove involvement and everything will happen naturally. Remove involvement and you'll start to break down these old mind frames and mindsets. Remove involvement and just be the awareness. I love that word. It's such an important word. You hear it all the time. Whether it's from Moji or Eckhart, you hear it all the time. Be the awareness. Be the awareness. This is what it all boils down to. Because if you're just the awareness, this implies that there's no longer involvement. And since involvement slash attention is power, right? You have removed power from these things. And without power, they won't last. Without power, they won't last. These thoughts will start to leave you alone, and the body will heal as a result. Okay? So, as tempting as it is to be the one who solves all of your problems, you're just making matters worse. If you want these thoughts to leave you alone, you take away their power, which is your attention, which is your involvement. Just be the awareness. Put the attention back out into the real world. Just accept what's going on in the head. Stop getting involved. As a result, the body heals. Okay? As a result, the body heals. So, the temptation to get involved is there. The temptation is there. But you have to remind yourself, how far has that gotten you? It's a good question. How far has that gotten you? Not very far. It's gotten you tired. It's gotten you sick. It's gotten you sensitized. You have to remove the power. All right, guys. Any more questions? Any more questions? I need a soda. I want a soda pop. I still haven't completely woke up yet today, Chad, apparently. Apparently. What's a good tool, chat? What's a good tool if you are in that mindset and you're just fighting, fighting, fighting with the thoughts, just fighting, fighting, fighting. You know one of the two main keys is to not get involved, but you're just up there fighting, fighting, fighting. What's a good tool to kind of bring you back down to earth? We say to remove your attention, okay, which means to remove the power essentially from these thoughts and just accept them instead. What's a good tool to do that if you just find that you just, for the life of you, can't seem to do that? It's to put the attention on something around you, right? To put the attention on something around you. You can call it present moment living if you want to call it that, but just pick something around you, whether it be a sound or whatever. Put the focus and attention there. You're still accepting the thoughts as they float around in your head, but you've put the attention elsewhere. You have removed the power, right? You're accepting that the thoughts are still up there floating around, but you have taken the logs off. You have taken the logs off of the fire. The fire is still burning because it takes time for a fire to burn out whether you've removed the logs or not. No, but what are you doing? Where? Oh, God. Say hello. Come on. Say hello. Oh, no. You just looked me right in the face. Oh, God. Or learning a new thing, for example, a new language. So basically, yeah, putting your focus on something else, using your focus and attention for something else other than fighting with the thoughts. I like that. That's a good response. All right, chat. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream here. We just surpassed that 1 hour mark, so going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for your love and support. I'm going to get on out of here. It's been a good one, and I will see you guys in the next stream and or video. Boom, right there.